Hi everybody, it's Andrew Gaffney with Retail TOuchPoints. I'm here at NRF and I'm joined by Snehanshu Shah with SAP. Thanks for joining me today.
Hi, nice to meet you, Andrew.
So I appreciate you making time. We were talking earlier, there's a lot of theme here around digital and digital transformation. Big topic and a big issue for retailers. It can be overwhelming. Where do you recommend that retailers get started? How do they address this?
So it's a great topic because what I see right now with a lot of retailers is they're really struggling on how to get started. And part of the challenge that they're facing is everybody wants to do something, but part of the reason they are having a lot of problem is their IT landscapes are really, really complex. And we as SAP, what we say is, look, the simplest thing you can do is to simplify your IT landscape. One of the things we do is really talk about the customer journey. So we say, look, if you want to start talking about digitization, what you need to do is better understand your customer and start talking about how you can digitize a customer touch point with you. I'll give you an example. Today, everybody has set up systems to capture tweets, right? And I say, it's great that you can capture a tweet. Can you turn it into a sale? And if you look at most customers, they can't. And so what they need is a digital engagement framework. So at SAP, what we do is we start talking about a digital enterprise platform. That look, you've already made a huge investment in IT infrastructure. Don't change that. That's got a lot of great information to it. But what we'd recommend is you start thinking about putting an enterprise platform in place that plugs into that lets you start taking advantage of the information you're collecting already. Now, what our digital enterprise platform consists of is a couple of different pieces. At its core is a data management framework that's in memory. It's called HANA. And what it does is it provides intelligence. So what it lets people do is plug into the existing systems they have and start basically melding and merging that information so that if a person walks into your store, you can recognize who they are. Start driving offers. Like if you think about it today, when you walk into an average store, and you buy something, the transaction is completely anonymous. Why? You're swiping my credit card, you should know who I am. You should know what my purchase history is, and you should be able to recommend something to me. Well, with our platform, you can actually do that. So at its core, you have HANA, which is the data management system. On top of that, what we have is a cloud platform that lets you quickly build applications. And then what it does is it powers analytics, as well as powers your transactional applications. And then one of the cool things we do is we connect up to all the IoT sensors. So one of the big things I'm doing with a lot of the customers today is I'm saying, look, sensors have gotten to the point where they cost pennies. Why don't you start putting sensors? A real simple thing we did with one of our customers is we started putting sensors onto their shelves to basically just measure the weight of the merchandise. If you do that, one of the things you can do is you can figure out how much merchandise is sitting on your shelves and how fast it's moving. So without changing your IT infrastructure, you can start actually doing things like detecting stockouts. You can detect leakage. You can detect if your store placement and assortment mix is actually moving. So simple things like that can get you started with digital transformation.
Right. Now, are you seeing some of the complexity that's there? Is the driver channels? Is it driven by the customer? What are you seeing as sort of the biggest impetus for it?
So I think it is channels, right? Because I think what a lot of us did was we ended up implementing a digital channel, and we still have our physical channel, and they're separate. And what we now need to do is start merging them together and merge them very, very quickly, right? So a great example of this is a do-it-yourself store company that we work with. And what they did was started monitoring what's happening on their online properties to actually figure out what are the products that are really popular, simple idea, and use that to figure out how their store placement needs to be. Another idea is Burberry, for example. One of the things that happens in a Burberry store, and Burberry uses our platform, is when you walk into a Burberry store, they ask you a few questions. Every store person has an iPad, and they plug that information into the iPad, and what that lets them do is recognize who you are. And suddenly now they know what your online purchase behavior is, they know what you've bought, and one of the cool things Burberry does is goes one step beyond. They actually know about your family, so when I walk into the store, they know what my wife has bought. And so they can actually, so they can actually recommend to me. They say, hey, your wife Jennifer came in, purchased these items a month ago. There's a new scarf available that she'll love. Would you like to buy that? It's so personal.
Yeah. There's a lot more discussion here this year about data and analytics, and you mentioned the sea of data that retailers wind up collecting. Are you finding that as a different discipline, an issue that people are getting better at analytics, getting better at?
So what I'm seeing is it's actually being done still as a silo. So the big topic on the floor is big data, and I think it's really not about big data, it's about small data, right? So what people are doing is adopting technologies like Hadoop, which is great, and they're collecting tons and tons of data. But what makes that data meaningful is if you can take advantage of it. So what I'm telling my customers is the way you can take advantage of that is start using algorithms, start using machine learning. Machine learning has become incredibly pervasive. And that's one of the things we provide in our analytics platforms as well as our HANA platform that I mentioned. What it can do is help you make sense of the big data environments that people have already established. And so, my first example of how do you take a tweet and make it a sale, that's how you do that. Take your big data environment, which can detect a tweet. Now let's take that information and hook it up to your corporate systems like your CRM system so that you can take the action that somebody's actually saying something about you and then drive that into your CRM systems or drive it into your store to take action. That's where the real power comes in.
That's great. And so back to the digital transformation topic, you can start small, there can be steps.
Yeah, so I'll tell you there are really 4 steps that I tell people. Number 1 is when you do digital transformation, you need to be true to your brand. So figure out what your story is. Burberry, for example, their story was about luxury experience. And so what they did when they started with the digital journey is they said, I'm going to focus in on the store. Home Depot, for example, their story is serving lots and lots of customers. So what they did when they started the digital transformation is they said, how do we take online behavior and make the store experience the best it can be? How do we make sure that the stores are stocked with the right amount of goods? So that's one. The second thing you do is pick a particular customer interaction or pick a particular supplier interaction and digitize that. Simple idea. If I call in and ask for help, then you should be able to recognize who I am. Today, you know what phone number I'm calling. You can look up who I am. You should be able to hook that into your enterprise systems and know if I'm a customer or not, and actually predict why I'm calling. So digitizing a specific customer journey, you don't need to digitize everything. Start with one thing. And then the third thing I say is start small. You don't need to make this a big bang project and a very expensive project. What I say is, look, why don't you pick a particular customer journey, digitize that, and one of the tools we use at SAP is something called design thinking, which is a way of coming in, understanding what the customer, putting yourself in the shoes of your customer and understanding what they want. Start small and then put something out there quickly and adapt. And the last idea I have is all about enterprise simplification. One of the things you have to do as you're doing these 3 things is talk about your IT infrastructure and start slowly simplifying it so that eventually you end up with an enterprise platform that can help you do digitization at scale. Initially, when you get started, because you already have a lot of IT infrastructure, you're going to start with something small and you're going to basically overlay on top of your IT infrastructure as is. But over time, what you want to do is adopt that IT infrastructure and involve it so that you can do this thing at scale. Now, one of the things we offer at SAP, and what I'd like to offer a lot of my customers, is a service where we come in, and this is something, a 4-week engagement we do, where we sit down with the customer and say, let us help you build your digitalization or digital transformation journey. We'll sit down, look at your brand, look at your customers, recommend a set of strategies, and even more, what we can do is in 4 to 6 weeks, we give you a digital prototype running in our HANA Cloud platform. So this lets you get started incredibly fast, and we do this service essentially at no cost.
Great offer. Well, thank you very much for making time today and all the great insights.
Excellent. Well, Andrew, very nice meeting you.
Have a great show. Thanks. Thanks, everybody.